Have you ever felt like the week was in charge of you, not the other way around? Like you're always behind, chasing time, jumping between tasks, your mind spinning, and no matter what you do, you never feel grounded. You're not alone. Most people live in that state, not because they choose to, but because they never built the habits that create order, real peace, and forward momentum. The Stoics understood something we often forget. External chaos doesn't have to mean internal chaos. Seneca warned that life without direction turns into a storm. Epictetus taught that we must train daily, not occasionally, if we want to live well. These weren't just concepts. They were actions, repeated, deliberate actions that forged character, resilience, and mental clarity. And that's what this video is here to share. 7 habits rooted in Stoic wisdom, basic yet transformative. They won't just organize your day, they'll strengthen your focus, shape your attitude, and ground you in what truly matters. These aren't gimmicks, they're tools, tested by time, sharpened by experience. So if you feel scattered, stuck, or just tired of the noise, you're exactly where you need to be. And if you value what we're creating here, there's one simple way to support it. Click that subscribe button. It really helps. Now let's begin. Here's the truth. Most people never start their day. They just respond to it. The alarm goes off. They hit snooze once, twice, maybe 3 times, and then it's go time. Checking notifications before they've even fully woken up, rushing through the morning half asleep, maybe skipping breakfast or scrolling while shoving something down. From the very start, they're behind. The day sets their pace, their attention, their energy, not the other way around. But there's a shift available. Your morning is your foundation. It's the last quiet territory that still belongs to you before the world tries to claim it. Marcus Aurelius, emperor, general, philosopher, wrote in his meditations about this struggle. He reminded himself, "You weren't born for comfort but for action." It wasn't just philosophy. It was a challenge to rise, not to impress others, but to show up for himself. You don't need to become a 5 a.m. hero overnight. That's not the point. What matters is intention. How are you using that first hour? Are you feeding your mind space or stress? Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." And that's the power of the morning. You're not just waking up, you're meeting yourself again when the world is still quiet enough to hear your own thoughts. You're not on defense, you're designing. Aristotle said that excellence is a habit, not an act. You build discipline not by thinking, but by showing up repeatedly, especially when it's hard. That's how you earn self-respect. That's how momentum starts. So try this. Wake up just 30 minutes earlier. No radical overhaul. No perfectly crafted morning routine. Just half an hour intentionally yours. Journal, stretch, sit in silence. Do one thing that centers you. Because when you own your morning, the day can't bully you as easily. You've already won round 1. And that small victory, it carries into how you speak, think, and move. Plato once said, "The first and best victory is to conquer yourself." And that battle begins here, not with perfection, but with presence and consistency. Your morning isn't just a time, it's a choice, a decision to lead, not to be dragged through life. We spend so much time in our heads, we forget we live in a body. We obsess over mental clarity, productivity, focus, as if those are floating above the neck. But here's the hard truth. If your body is stiff, tired, and neglected, your mind will follow. You can't think clearly when your nervous system is overloaded. You can't lead your life when your body feels like a burden. The Stoics knew this long before research confirmed it. Seneca didn't just write about strength. He trained it, cold showers, fasting, testing his limits, not for vanity, for mastery. Epictetus, a slave with a disabled leg, taught that the body must be trained to obey the mind. And that wasn't ego, that was strategy. But today we divide the two, as if fitness is for athletes and strength is reserved for the gym. Meanwhile, we're sore from sitting, tired by midday, and wonder why discipline feels impossible. The truth? Movement is mindset. When your body moves, your mind unlocks. Blood flows, energy returns, focus sharpens. Plato once said, "Lack of activity destroys the good condition of every human." He wasn't talking about looks, he meant spirit. Stillness. Too much of it wears down not just the muscles but our fire, our drive. When you move, even a little, you activate something primal, something hungry. You don't need abs, you need to feel capable. So take a walk, lift something heavier, do push-ups, stretch before bed. It doesn't matter what. What matters is the message. I still choose, I still move, I still resist comfort. Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And sometimes movement is how we stop resisting life and start living it. When you turn that energy into motion, into building, creating, moving forward, something changes. So here's your move. Choose one thing, not 5, not your entire to-do list. Just the one task that's been lingering, taking up mental space, weighing you down. You already know what it is. Do it today, not later, not when everything is perfect, not when your calendar clears or inspiration strikes. Do it because it's uncomfortable. That's your signal. That's where the growth hides. Cross it off. Feel the shift in energy. And when you do, don't just celebrate that it's done. Celebrate that you chose to face it. You chose action over excuse, courage over comfort. That's where self-respect is born. That's the kind of movement the Stoics called virtue. There's a quiet kind of fatigue that sneaks in when you've been running on empty for too long, but it's become your normal. You blame the mental fog on stress, the short temper on a bad day, the scattered focus on too many tabs open. But maybe it's not your to-do list. Maybe it's your sleep debt. Here's what most people ignore. You can eat clean, exercise daily, journal at dawn, meditate at lunch, even devour productivity books. But if your sleep is fragile, your foundation is cracked. And a cracked foundation won't hold. The mind unravels, slowly, then all at once. The Stoics didn't have smartwatches or blue light blockers, but they understood the need for balance, for rhythm, for recharging. Seneca said, "The mind must be given relaxation. It will return improved and sharper." And what he called relaxation. We call that sleep, not weakness, not laziness, recovery, a sacred reset that prepares you to show up stronger. We glorify the grind. We look down on rest. Sleep has become a symbol of failure when it's actually a tool of mastery. So consider this. If you panic when your phone hits 10% battery, why do you let yourself run on 5% for days? Carl Jung once said, "Even a happy life cannot be without a measure of darkness." Rest isn't escape, it's alignment. It's the natural rhythm. Light, then dark, effort, then ease. Sleep isn't a distraction from life, it's what makes life possible. And here's the piece most people miss. Sleep starts long before bed. You don't just drop into sleep, you arrive there with intention. With ritual. It begins with how you end your day. Close the laptop, dim the lights. Let the day fade gently instead of crashing to a halt. Socrates believed moderation and self-control were the height of wisdom, and sometimes the wisest move is to pause and say, "Enough." But we don't. We push through, treating sleep as optional, something to catch up on later, but later never shows up. And let's be honest, scrolling yourself to sleep is not rest. It's a trick. Your brain stays awake while your body begs for stillness. You need a wind-down ritual, something simple, something signaling it's safe to rest. It could be a book, a hot shower, a few sentences in your journal. Silence. Anything that says, "The day is done, I'm letting go." Aristotle said, "It is the mark of an educated mind to entertain a thought without accepting it." And when you're rested, you have that power. You can witness your thoughts, not be swallowed by them. You respond, not react. You choose, not chase. That's the power of a sharpened mind. So tonight, do something different. Set a bedtime, honor it, shut down the noise early. Give your body what it's been asking for, not as a reward, but as preparation. Sleep like your next level depends on it, because it does. There's a sense of control that comes from having a plan, a beautiful to-do list, color-coded and ready. But how often does your day actually follow that plan? You wake up ready to execute, and then something unexpected hits. A cancellation, a tech glitch, a sick kid, a traffic jam. And just like that, your perfect day spirals out of control. Most people crack under that pressure, not because the event was so catastrophic, but because it caught them off guard. That's where Stoic training kicks in. Enter one of their greatest mental strategies. Premeditatio malorum, the anticipation of trouble. It's not pessimism, it's preparation, it's not expecting failure, it's considering the possibility so you're not surprised when life gets messy. Epictetus once asked, what would Hercules have become without the lion, the hydra, the criminals he faced? His message: obstacles aren't separate from your purpose, they are your purpose. You don't get strong in still waters, you build resilience when the storm hits, and that starts in the mind. Just like you train your body for a fight, you train your mind for life. You rehearse setbacks, not to obsess, but to rob them of their power. You think ahead like a strategist, not because you wish for chaos, but because when chaos comes, you're ready. You'll be the calmest person in the room, the one who doesn't flinch. Carl Jung once said, "The greatest burden a child must bear is the unlived life of the parents." What does that mean here? When we model fear, avoidance, and surprise at every obstacle, when we crumble at every inconvenience, we're not just exhausting ourselves, we're teaching others, especially those who look up to us, that life is supposed to be easy. But it's not. And that's okay, because with the right mindset, it can be meaningful, even empowering. Plato taught that wisdom begins in wonder. But wisdom also requires vision, the ability to anticipate, to imagine what could go wrong and be mentally ready. Not just a plan B, but a plan of mindset. One that stays grounded, that doesn't panic or spiral, that quietly whispers, "I knew this could happen, and I'm ready." Imagine you have a big presentation tomorrow. Most people visualize success, a perfect delivery, engaged faces, applause. That's useful. But a Stoic also visualizes tech failures, tough questions, mistakes, not to scare themselves, but to prepare, so that if things go wrong, they stay composed, they adapt. That's inner power. Socrates challenged people to question their assumptions, to look beyond the surface. If you assume life should be smooth, every bump feels like an injustice. But if you accept that disorder is part of life's design, you stop taking it personally. And that one shift, it changes everything. Here's a challenge. Take 5 minutes today, think through tomorrow. What might derail you? And then, how will you respond if it happens? Not react. Respond. Preparation gives you that space, the space between trigger and behavior, and that space is where choice lives. You can't predict everything, but you can predict that not everything will go to plan. And when it doesn't, you'll be centered, steady, resilient. That's the Stoic edge, not a life without chaos, but a mind that stays calm within it. There's a truth we all know but rarely face because it's hard, because it stops us in our tracks. We're not here forever. And that changes things, not in a morbid way, not in a what's the point way, but in a no more wasting time way. When you remember that life is finite, you begin to see what matters and what never really did. The Stoics called this memento mori, remember you must die, not to feel sad, but to feel focused. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." He wasn't being dark. He was being clear, letting the reality of death bring life into focus. And he was right. Most of our stress comes not from the present, but from regret about the past or anxiety about the future. Death, when remembered wisely, pulls us back. It whispers, "This moment matters. Feel it. Say what needs to be said. Do something with this time." Jung once said, "A man who does not know death does not know life." That's the paradox. The more we avoid thinking about the end, the more we numb ourselves to what's in front of us. But when we face it, really face it, we gain something precious: presence, gratitude, a sense of urgency, not panicked, but prioritized. You stop stressing over the petty, you stop waiting for the right time. You stop holding on to resentments that don't survive the bigger picture. How many moments have you let pass, assuming there would be more? How many words have you swallowed? How many connections left unreached, scrolled past instead of felt? When you realize time isn't infinite, something shifts. You become both softer and stronger, more grounded and bolder. Plato once said, "Philosophy is a preparation for death, and not in a somber way, in a liberating one." Because when you understand time is limited, you live more truthfully. You stop hiding. You pursue what's real. You take risks. You speak truth. You love without hesitation. Imagine this. You're saying goodnight to someone you love. You kiss them on the forehead, and just for a moment you feel the full weight of that act. This, right here, might be the last time, not out of fear, but out of presence. And in that presence, you feel a love deeper than you knew you could. Socrates, on trial for his life, said, "Death may be the greatest of all human blessings." Why? Because it clears the clutter. It reminds us that time isn't guaranteed, and that is a gift. It pushes us to act, to finish the dream, to fix the hurt, to show up fully and unapologetically. So here's your call. Don't wait. Say what's been left unsaid. Apologize if you need to, or speak your truth if you've been silent. Hug longer. Laugh louder. Take that walk. Make that call. Start that thing you've been putting off. Do it now, because tomorrow isn't promised. One day this will all be a memory, or it won't. But today, right now, you are here, alive, breathing, choosing, and that is power. Don't waste it. If this message resonated, there's another video waiting right here. Something I think you'll feel just as deeply. Go watch it. Thank you for being here, for being part of Stoic Journal, where ancient wisdom meets modern life. I'll see you again soon. Stay grounded, stay present.